Welcome to All Things Social Security. Enjoy your video. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Hope you all can hear me okay. It is Sunday the 4th, January 4th. This would be my father's birthday. Yeah, he'd have been 96. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Lost him quite a while ago, a couple decades ago. All right, so we're going to do the Sunday Social Security Roundup for the week of December 29th until yesterday, January 3rd. So here we go. I hope you all had a great Christmas and New Year's holiday season. Mine was very nice. Very nice. Okay, where are we at here? The 29th, Monday. We had a little ditty about if your Social Security disability back benefits are taxed. And the other question addressed was, will the SSA take out the taxes before sending me my back benefits? So we go into that on Monday. On Tuesday, this was, yeah, you know me in physical therapy, a little bit more to drive it home why physical therapy records are the bomb, as I describe them, even if you do have improvement. Because there was some concern that, well, if I start to improve, won't that hurt my case? And I do not think that's the case at all. I've never found it to be the case in any of my cases. And that's the case. All right. Yeah, I'm really goofy today, right? That was, what did we say that was? Tuesday? Yeah. Wednesday. This is a little ditty about using a cane and how to make it an effective piece of evidence for your case, aside from you just saying you use one. And perhaps you make sure to walk in with it to your hearing if you're in person, or if you're on video, having it propped up on the desk visibly next to you. Of course, for those people that do a phone hearing, which I rarely ever recommend, that wouldn't be visible. So either way, but this is why it just being visible isn't the bomb so much as a few other things you're going to want to make sure you do if you use a cane. And that would also apply to a walker. And I even toss in there a little bit about how the strategy is kind of necessary for when your condition requires also that you or also that you elevate your legs periodically throughout the day. Wednesday, we had our live stream on, this was New Year's Eve, right? Wednesday, New Year's Eve. That was a crazy day. I came back from Harrisburg, but I did the live stream before we left. It was abbreviated somewhat, not as short as I planned. So instead of going like an hour, we went maybe an hour 20. You know, normally we're there usually about 2 hours. I thought it would be a little shorter just because it was a holiday evening, and Christmas Eve was shorter, but people were there and asking questions. So I stuck around as long as I could. But the reason why I was leaving early was because we were expecting possible snow, and it's like a 2.5 hour drive without traffic. So not knowing what it was going to be like weather-wise and with the holiday travel, I wanted to get on the road. That's why I kept it abbreviated, even though it wasn't that much abbreviated. And so that was Wednesday. And then Thursday was the replay of that live stream. So as you know, either Thursday or within the days after, whenever YouTube gets it processed, we put out the replay, which strips out all of the quiet time of scrolling to find someone's part two to their question. Sometimes, you know, when we're chatting, people will add something like, oh yeah, you know, they might have a post and I'll be responding to it verbally on the live stream and say, but I'm not, how old were you, did you say? And then by the time I get to their real-time answer, because we're not actually, there might be 5 people that have a question posted and I do one at a time and then more come after that. Number 5 might have been submitted 15 minutes earlier. You just don't know. So anyway, I do sometimes some scrolling with regard to that. And I just like to carve all of that out of there, unless we're talking at the same time, but usually not. So it just shortens it up sometimes by a good half hour over the entire 2 hour time frame that we generally have it. So the replay came out Thursday. On Friday, we didn't have the Friday fraud law review. My bad. So we put out something else, which was the first in a three-parter. This one's really important. It's the strategy benefits of knowing what a composite job is and using it, because I think so many jobs are composite jobs and it's a not well understood concept. And I think it's super important for those of you who are pro se, or, potentially if you're a new representative, it's something to really get a grip on and always consider, because it could help you boot out step 4 denial. Many of the people are still going to have a step 5 to deal with, but you still have to get to step 4 always. So it's particularly beneficial to those where step 4 largely ends the game positively, but it is also a necessary step to get through for those that don't. So you may as well use the most ammo you have. And I always like to say too, a work history report from a prior claim can feasibly, let's say a claim you lost, can feasibly be reused in a later case. I've seen this with function reports where they drag it up from an old case, which I think is very inappropriate, particularly because it's from a different time frame. I'm surprised they don't more drag up work history reports, since that generally doesn't change unless someone worked again subsequently. That being said, when I have a case where the work history report was already done in that case by the claimant when they were pro se, I always look at it with a fine-tooth comb. I do it personally myself. My team also looks at it, but it's something that has to see my eyeballs, because very, very rarely, if ever, do I see a work history report that was prepared in a way that would be damaging for that particular claimant when it need not be, and more accurately would not have been. So we often actually recreate that wheel and redo the work history report and resend it to the SSA or the DDS unsolicited. Yes. Sometimes we put it upon them. We don't expect them to ask for it because they already had one that suited their purposes, but less so suited the claimant's purpose. So we try to get that fixed. So that was Friday, January 2nd. That was part 1. Part 2 came out on Saturday, January 3rd. Yeah, we decided to do them straight in a row. We did the function report for mental health claims in the past month or so. That was a long one. That was like 10, a series of 10. I do plan on getting out the full 9 yards for everybody, so that if you wanted to watch the whole thing without having to do 10-minute intervals, that would be fine. We do the 10 minutes because we like to keep our videos short, because most people can't sit that long and won't sit that long. But I will get out the full thing for those that want to. It's just going to take me some time to make sure that gets put together and scheduled to go out. So these 3 in this strategy, the strategy benefits of a composite job, Friday, Saturday, and will probably come out Monday. I'm thinking the third one, 3 of 3. So at least you can bang them out 3 in a row. It's kind of unfortunate for those that aren't interested in that, because then there'll be 3 days where there's nothing new for them that they're interested in, but that's just kind of how the ball bounces. We'll have to see how that goes. With the function report for the mental health claims, we spread them out every few days. I don't know which one's better. Maybe you guys have an opinion on that. Because I always have to remember that no video is going to be there to serve all the people. It's just the way it is. Do we try to bang them out sequentially for a week if need be to get it covered, but then other viewers who aren't interested in that particular topic are kind of stuck with nothing? Or do we space them out? I have no problem doing it either way. Like, my gut says space them out, but then I feel bad for the people that want to bang them out, but maybe I shouldn't. I mean, they are getting them at no cost, so maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, so that's it. That was through Saturday, January 3rd, guys. And January 4th, we're in the beginning of a new year. I hope everyone can stay as positive as possible. Maybe one little tiny resolution many of us can have is, I just want to be a little bit more positive than last year. I'll take it. Little baby steps, right? I'm still kind of tweaking I don't do big major resolutions too much anymore, but I find that the easy ones, the small ones, the baby steps are the ones that do become a habit. So nobody else might notice them, but if you notice them and you could tell a difference in yourself or something you do, I think that's all that matters, right? All right, guys. Let me click on out of here. God bless. Have a great week. I hope to see you this week. Remember, 12 o'clock every day of the dailies and every Wednesday, including this one coming up, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is our live stream for any Social Security questions you might have. I hope to see you there. It's a small but friendly little chat group, and people post their questions and I get to them. All right, guys. I'll chat with you later. Bye. It's still Sunday. Did you miss last week's Social Security roundup? Not this week that you just heard, but the one prior to that, and want to catch up? I'm attaching it now. Have a great day. Bye. Morning. Happy Sunday. It's the Sunday after Christmas 2025. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas, and I hope you're having a great weekend. I hope it's been peaceful and everything else you could want. So this is just a quick Social Security Sunday roundup for the last week up until yesterday, Saturday. So it starts with the 22nd. And I will say on the 21st, last Sunday, I didn't do a roundup. First time ever, but things got a little in the way. Anyway, so this week we have the 22nd. It was a little ditty about ALJ hearings and ALJs. And it seems like wherever you go on the internet and maybe elsewhere, you're always hearing these big headlines of a, bad ALJ decision and they're all just terrible and all that kind of business. And here's my perspective on it from experience, actual experience with like thousands of claimants. So I give a little bit of a reality check there. If anyone wants to see it, that was December 22nd. So that must have been Monday. On Tuesday, we had the 9 out of 10 parts to the mental health claims function report series, helping people navigate the function report when it comes to a mental health claim versus the physical, which tends to be the interpretation of the questions is that it seems to be more physical. However, it's not necessarily so. And we give you some pointers on that. The following day, which was December 24th, Wednesday, Christmas Eve, shared a little news item that the SSA had put out a few weeks prior, and it was about updating us to the progress and improvements in customer matters handling, particularly the speed at which things are getting handled and the wait times. SSA has been under the gun for a number of years now for having very, very bad customer service, and maybe had to do with the hiring freeze of 3 years ago or whatever it was. And then, of course, new administration, they tried to revamp the whole thing, which, of course, one would expect to have a few growing pains with some changes. But it's actually turned out to be an improvement already. Improvement from bare bottom, though. You almost couldn't go any lower than we were. So a 25%, give or take, improvement on what it was in 2024 and the years prior. As I always say, I'll take the improvement, but keep it coming because we are coming from a really bad spot. So 25% improvement on something horrible is still horrible. The following day, so that was Wednesday, and we did have our live stream. It was short and sweet, under an hour, which is kind of what I expected. On Thursday, the replay came out of that live stream. So you have all the little lag time omitted from the replay for those that want a little quicker version of that. Friday was, of course, Friday Law Review. Fraud Law Review. Oh my God, tongue twister. I think I need more coffee. And it was about a Massachusetts man who had threatened terror and rather murderous to an SSA OIG in order to get money benefits. I don't know why he thought that would work, but it was kind of an interesting case. That came out on Friday, the 26th. And then yesterday, yesterday. Oh, also on Friday, it's a members only full version of a 3-part series coming out on the channel on the day-to-days. So everyone else is going to get it, just not in the manner that the members only received it. And it has to do with the strategy benefits of a composite job. If you have a composite job, and I bet you almost, I don't know if I could say most people do, but it's something that is very overlooked, and it can definitely help you win step 4. For some of you, you still have to win step 5, but so it's an explanation of that. And because it was lengthier than what my typical 10 minutes would prefer, it's broken up into 3, but this is the full version so that the members can just bang through it if they want, if it's a kind of topic that they're interested in. The following day, which was the 27th Saturday, this was the part 10 of 10 of the function report tips for mental health impairments. So that was the last of those. And I think what I'm probably going to do is put out, since they're out there in short pieces for people that really don't feel like sitting through a long thing, and it keeps them a little more on track, I will put out the whole thing for those that want to just see the whole thing flat out. That is not a problem. I just haven't gotten to it. All right, so that is it, guys. That was the week. I hope you all had a great Christmas. I had a nice one. It was calm. I got my beloved father-in-law to visit up here, so that was great. And I think he's going home today. But anywho, I hope you all had a good one and a safe one. And I hope to see you next week. I will be at a Harrisburg again. And I will be doing the live stream Wednesday at 1 p.m. I might even start like 15 minutes early, possibly. So if you feel like popping in early, you might get some one-on-one time. But anywho, that's because then I have to leave there and go back to, it's like a 2.5-hour drive back to the northeast Pennsylvania. So anywho, just wanted to share that little bit with you. And have a great week, guys. I will talk to you later. Don't work too hard.